Welcome to the Veterans Corner here on WHIG-TV. It's great to be with you today. As you can see, we've got some new stuff set up. We're moving on up as far as technology behind us, and we're thrilled about the support we're getting from the station there. We missed you all a couple weeks. All this snow has held us up for our normal Wednesday programming, but we're glad to be here. And I tell you, I've got some outstanding American hero guests with us today. I've got Sergeant Major Johnny Barunda, who has been on the program before, and of course Command Sergeant Major Lynn Wider, who also has been on the station before. My name's Joshua Kane. I'm the Director of Service to Armed Forces for the American Red Cross, and we're thrilled to be here today. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us.
You're welcome, Josh.
So these two men are part of a team that we're here today to talk about. It's called the Veterans Crisis Response Team. We have a tremendous collaboration between a number of different veteran service organizations and organizations, nonprofits like the American Red Cross, that have come together to try to address an issue that we've talked about on this program before, and that is post-traumatic stress, helping veterans, current military families connect to resources that can help treat post-traumatic stress, and then also suicide prevention resources. I'm going to, and Sergeant Major Barunda here has been a big part of getting this process started. Can you explain to us a little bit about how the Veterans Crisis Response Team got started and why it exists today?
Great. Basically, in a nutshell, how it got started is we saw a need in the community through personal experiences with my family, with veterans in the process of trying to take their own lives, having a lot of problems coming back from the battlefield into the civilian population, and not really being able to really deal with the issues that most civilians have to deal with. They're so used to the military and that type of lifestyle. We almost lost our son. Thank God we did not. So we came out and spoke up against the post-traumatic stress injury. A lot of it has to do with TBIs as well too.
And TBI stands for traumatic brain injury, by the way. Excuse me.
Correct. And what we saw a need is to just let the community know and let other veterans out there know that there is a problem. It doesn't do any good not to speak up about it. These are some of the types of issues when you talk about mental health, especially being a service member, and that's men and women joined. You're kind of trained in the military to suck it up and drive on, to not really show that sign of weakness. But I'm here to tell everybody right here, right now, that it takes the strength and courage of a warrior to ask for help. And that works for both men and women. And I stole that line from the Veterans Affairs, and that really speaks volumes. And then we got together with Josh. He was introduced to me early on when this happened, about 5 months ago. And we basically saw the need to join all the organizations together to come up with a rock-solid plan on how to combat this major challenge that is not only in this community but in communities across the nation. It just hit really close to home here. So we've developed what has become known the Veterans Crisis Response Team, where we want other veterans out there to know that if they're dealing with any type of crisis, if they're thinking of hurting themselves, which Josh will cover here in a little bit, we do have some points of contacts and some people in the area that are willing to step up to the plate and lead you in the correct direction to get the proper help that you need and that you well earned and that you deserve. And for the family members as well too, it's very hard on the mothers and fathers, the wives, the children, and extended family members that there's actual help out there for you as well too. So I'll leave that where it's at, and Josh.
Well, I tell you, one of the major pieces of this is that there were a number of veterans who were reaching out, unfortunately, to a system with the VA that was just overwhelmed, and is trying diligently to try to get out from underneath a lot of backload and a lot of a backlog and issues that they're having. But we sat right here in this room, and and it was very clear that the people in the room understood that we can't rely on a bureaucratic system to help our veterans and our heroes that are struggling here in our communities. That is a big resource. We're not here to dog the VA, but there is more that can be done, and more that has to be done. And so we took a sort of a grassroots approach to this. And we're excited to say at this point we have about 10 different counties covered with individuals, veterans in those areas who have stepped up. And we're going to show you a list in a minute about veterans and a resource guide that we're working very hard to get out far and wide. This resource guide has information about how to deal with a pre-crisis event, meaning that they have not attempted yet, information on what to do if you're in the middle of a crisis, and actually some very helpful information to do about what happens right after the crisis and who you need to contact and how you can reach people. But it's the pre-crisis work. Family members are sometimes, and most times, the ones who recognize some of these symptoms right off the bat. They recognize the symptoms, but what we were finding is that they had very little information about what to do next. They were reaching out for help and didn't know what resources existed. Some people were just walking, literally driving to Durham and walking into the facility, not knowing where to start. And that's one of the reasons why we've started this team, so we can get information out, and family members can call people who are representing their area and talk to them about what some of the resources are. And we're proud to say that we have recently expanded to Johnston County, and one of our major connections that came out of that expansion was Command Sergeant Major Lynn Wilder, who we've worked in the past. And so we want to tell you a little bit about how this system works. This is a 24-hour response team that is willing to get on the phone, go out in person when it's a safe thing to do, and be a resource for the family, for the veteran that's in crisis. And I've received the 11 p.m. call from the Sergeant Major here. So why don't we talk about that scenario a little bit? You know, how a situation, because our viewing audience may not be familiar at all, how a situation like that gets started, and then how we as a team respond.
This particular case that we're speaking of in Johnson County, people in Johnson County at the Veterans Service Officer received a call about 8 o'clock that night from a veteran who was completely out of food. And by completely out of food, I'm talking about there was nothing.
Right.
Nothing at all, not even a paper plate available. And they knew that the Veterans Residential Services in Wilson has the ability to go ahead and provide these things to the needed people on request. So I got the telephone call about 8:30 or so that we needed to provide some assistance to this veteran. I contacted back down to Johnson County to an individual there that's on the list that you have, and asked that he provide some food out to this individual, which he did. And when he and his wife went out there and visited with him, this individual was speaking at that point of total devastation, frustration with the system, and just considering suicide.
Right.
And he immediately turned around and called me back, where in turn I got a hold of you about 10:30 or 11, whatever it was that
Right.
night,
Right.
and asked you to please intercede utilizing this system to get things taken care of. And I'm happy to say that at this point the person has been regenerated back. Now they were involved in a vehicular accident at Fort Bragg with the 82nd Airborne, and she's brain damaged. But she calls me now, and I'm more than willing to speak with her at any time tonight. That's not a problem, and relay that information as we go along so we can get things taken care of.
Absolutely, and in this example, it was I can remember vividly speaking to her. It was in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and she was just in a place of really devastating hunger and need. And she reached out to us and said, "I'm not going to experience another holiday like I did at Thanksgiving, where I had nothing there with me." You know, and then what made the biggest difference is she didn't think that anybody cared.
Right.
That was one of the biggest challenges, knowing that someone was able to reach out. So we had a couple different members of this response team go out, speak to her. Sergeant Major Widener is still in contact with her, and of course, we are not mental health professionals. We are very familiar with some of the resources that exist out there, but we're very quick, and in every one of these situations we did, of course, reach out and try to connect her with some mental health professionals and some of the resources that exist in the VA. We find that sometimes veterans in crisis are hesitant and a little bit not scared, but distrusting of the VA system. And again, we're not here to detract from them or really promote them at all. We're here to make sure that veterans connect with resources. So one of the things that we've talked about, and Sergeant Major Barunda was touching base on, is that there's a stigma out there with traumatic, post-traumatic injuries and traumatic brain injuries. And we've said on this program before, we as a community have to remove the stigma. We have to say, it starts with me. I will not look at a person differently if they are struggling with depression, with the post-traumatic effects of their deployments, and if they're struggling with the effects of a traumatic brain injury. We don't look at them as if, and that's one of the reasons why we don't say PTSD. It's not a disorder. This is a service-related injury that they have. It's not a disorder. You look like something's wrong with that individual. So we've got a clip we're going to show in just a few minutes that covers, and these are Medal of Honor recipients. These are all individuals who have served their country bravely and have been awarded the highest award for valor that our nation has to give. And they talk a little bit about what post-traumatic stress is. And one of the individuals talks about how at night he lays the war down. If he can go to sleep, he lays it down. And in the morning, he picks back the Vietnam War up, and it's with him throughout the day. This many years later, his experience is still with him, and how he's got the help he needs. And they're really, you'll see in the clip there where they really promote what it means to go out and get some resources. We gotta stop with the prejudicial thoughts towards someone who's struggling with this, and we gotta make sure that we don't lose any more of our American heroes than we've already lost. We're losing them at a rate of 22 a day, and that's almost one every hour. That's one during the time of this program. So why don't we take a moment, and we're gonna take a quick break. I want you to watch this video, and I hope videos like this from people who wear that Medal of Honor around their neck. I hope we can do more things like this to show that this is something. They have tremendous courage. They had courage on the battlefield, and they have courage at home to get what they need. So why don't we watch that clip? We'll be right back.
I'm Pat Brady.
I'm Sammy Davis.
I'm Bob Foley.
I'm Jay Vargas.
We are so proud of you.
You're the best we've ever had.
And thank you for your service to our country.
As a veteran, you are part of America's nobility.
These are difficult times, but the purpose of our armed forces is still to fight and win our nation's wars.
My name is Roger Donlin.
I'm Bruce Crandall.
I'm John Caviani.
I'm Bud Day.
I'm Tom Kelly, and I was privileged to serve with the United States Navy in Vietnam.
I was a helicopter ambulance pilot in Vietnam, where I helped rescue thousands of wounded warriors.
Like you, I have experienced the challenges of war.
I know firsthand the impacts of war
and the demands it places on each of you.
One of the ugly realities is that sometimes the enemy comes home with you.
I put the war on every morning, and I take it off every night. I'm Gary Wetzel.
I'm Walter Ehlers.
I'm Tom Hudner.
I'm Mike Thornton.
I'm Jim Taylor.
I'm Drew Dix.
I'm Harold Fritz.
In those days, we didn't have the same services and resources and tools
that are available today to help service members and their families
deal with the challenges of deployment and reintegration.
No one even thought about it. I wish they did.
But resources and tools now are available, and the military has come a long way. My name's Brian Thacker.
I'm Bob Mojieski.
I'm Barney Barnum.
I'm Jack Jacobs.
And I'm Tom Norris.
If you return from combat and have concerns about your mental health,
The tools and the resources are here now.
Make use of those services and stay strong.
Give them a chance. It can make a difference.
Use those resources. Get strong again.
Do yourself and your family a favor and use them.
ask for help.
Stay strong in body, mind, and spirit.
Remember your warrior ethos. Refuse to accept defeat. Never quit. Don't let the enemy defeat you at home.
All right, welcome back to the Veterans Corner here on WHIG-TV. We're having a great discussion here about the Veteran Crisis Response Team that's come up out of our communities, sort of a grassroots effort. And you just watched a clip. I hope it was as powerful for you when you saw it as when I first saw it, of these heroes who are stepping up and saying, and helping remove the stigma and helping make sure that everyone understands the courage it takes off the battlefield to get the help you need to deal with some of the things that you saw on the battlefield and during the military personnel's time of service. We were just talking, and Lynn made a really good point. I'm gonna let him make it again about some of the things the public perception is seeing a veteran who's been wounded or someone who's struggling with PTSD.
Well, what we were talking about is about 11 years ago, I stopped to get some peaches for my wife at an orchard down in South Carolina, and I happened to see the owner, and I asked him if he was willing to donate some peaches to the people in the hospital. He asked what I was driving. I told him that car. Went on about my business. When I came out, I had 4 or 5 tires. He had loaded up with that many peaches.
Wow.
So we put it in. I put up 90 pounds pressure and drove it home about 20 miles. We all floated in the truck, and we drove straight to Walter Reed that night, my wife and I. And just a matter of putting in the wheelchairs. Doesn't make any difference why. We just put them in wheelchairs and went through every ward and just handed out peaches as we went along. And that's sort of been a developing theme as we go along. Since we've moved to Wilson, we've added barbecue and this type of thing. But the point being is, we now have the Vietnam Veterans of Johnson County in Chapter 990, which covers about 13 counties in North Carolina, also assist me with this. And in doing so, the guys from Vietnam and such, when they hand out the barbecue, they hand out the hot dogs, the sausage dogs, the peaches, they sit down and talk with the guys.
Right.
And you may not be missing an arm or a leg. You may be there. All your bodily parts seem normal. But when you talk to him, you find out that this guy is unwilling to go because of an IED, go up to see his children on the 2nd floor. He just can't get past that fear. And so things change around. And you do meet some tremendous assets as you go along. I can distinctly remember a guy came over and sat down, and I talked with him. He was a E8 in the Marine Corps, and he was one of those babies that was pushed up through the embassy tower.
Wow.
On the evacuation from Vietnam.
Wow.
And yet he had survived and come back and joined the service as he goes along. But there's still some emotional stuff with him that he goes along.
Absolutely, and it only strengthens the point that this is an injury, a wound that not everybody can see right off the bat. This is something that you need to have conversations with individuals. I encourage you all, if you are interested in working with veterans, go out and ask them to share their story. And we found that you can pay a lot of money, and there are some really great mental health counselors out there who do some great work. But some of the best therapy that exists for post-traumatic stress injuries is by going down to your VFW hall, to your Vietnam Veterans of America, to your American Legion post, and having conversations with other veterans. And it helps to share stories. It helps to know that you're not alone in this struggle. And that's really another piece that brought us all together. And at this point, we have about eight different veteran service organizations and nonprofits who are working together to help man these counties and make sure that there is always someone on the other side of a phone that will be willing to help a family.
You don't take a ticket, you don't get a recording.
That's correct. You'll get a live person. You won't get told to press 1, and we're here to help.
Exactly. So, so why don't we take a moment? I'm gonna ask that they put up on the screen the front side of this resource guide that I talked a little bit about earlier. This, as you can see there, this resource guide, the front side is all about steps that you can take from people and from the VA. This is guidance that can help you throughout your pre-crisis, mid-crisis, and post-crisis experience. Now that's just there on paper. They have some phone numbers you can call. We're also going to show in a minute the veteranscrisisline.net also has a great website where if you're a younger vet and you like to text or chat on the online, you can do that. If you want to get on the phone and talk to an individual, you can use that. The Veterans Crisis Line is a great resource. Again, that's 24/7 as well. That's on there, but if you flip it over and if you can show everyone the back side of this resource guide, it's got contact information. It's got names and phone numbers, daytime, nighttime, anytime you can call an individual based on where you're at. And so if you're in Halifax County or in Nash County, Edgecombe, Wilson, Johnston, Greene, Wayne, you can call and someone will be there to help meet that need. And one thing we want to make sure, it's just like Command Sergeant Major Wilder said, one of these incidents started with a veteran in crisis that had to do with food. And we did not know the depths of the issues, but when you have a conversation and you get there and you show this is another human being, not just a human being, but another veteran who cares about this situation, the conversations go and this individual can get more help than what they even were originally reaching out for. So I should say the Veterans Crisis Response Team is available to help with a number of different issues. We're not the solve-it-all, but we're willing to do legwork. We're willing to take off some of that burden off of your shoulders to help and connect you to resources that are there. Hundreds of organizations out there have missions to support the military and veterans. The American Red Cross has a mission to support the armed forces, but we don't do it all. We do part of it. Other organizations pick up other pieces of it. But if you're just sitting there online, not knowing where to start, not knowing what to type in a Google box, or not knowing who to call or start the search, this is where you should call. We will run down and help bring the resource to the need there, even if it means we have to call 3 or 4 different people. Sometimes it's a simple fix, like a trip to the grocery store, and sometimes it's a very specific need, and we got to meet it to a very specific resource. But we're willing to do it. We have an information and referral network that is strong, and we're willing to push that information and not just hand you a 1-800 number, but hand you another person who is part of our team who's willing to talk to you and help you work through that crisis. So we don't want you to necessarily wait till you're in crisis to give us a call. Feel free to call if you just have some questions about something. We've got people who have lived this experience with their own families, have lived this experience with themselves. Some of our team members have struggled with PTSD since Vietnam, and they're still fighting the battle, but they're winning the battle. There are resources out there for you as well. So make sure, what I want to do at this point, get your pen and paper ready, because we're working on a lot of ways to get this information out to the public. WHIG is helping us out by giving us some time today to do this. But if you are interested in getting a copy of this resource guide, which you're going to be hearing about in the newspaper and a couple other places throughout the community, why don't you give me a call? My office is at the Red Cross, and I can be reached at 252-977-1720. Again, Josh Kane with the Red Cross, 252-977-1720. That resource is available to you. I hope you'll take advantage of it. And then we're also working on some other ways to make sure this information gets out far and wide. And we have 10 counties now, but we're going to grow.
Well, Josh, I was at a meeting for the North Carolina Veterans Committee, which is a statewide committee with representatives from everywhere appointed by the governor. I was at that last Monday, and I provided to them a copy of this. Went back to the director to see that they can model the rest of North Carolina over what's been done by this organization as it is.
I'm personally very proud to have been part of something that is growing and is a model for something to start. Again, this just started with a group of 4 or 5 veterans who said, We can't just give them a phone number. We can't just say you need to go to Fayetteville or Durham and they'll help you. We said we're going to start here and connect you with resources, and know that the moment you pick up the phone, you have gained a battle buddy. You have gained a partner. You have gained someone who's willing to go through and stand alongside of you with this fight. So keep that in mind. You'll be seeing this information. We're hoping to get this at the every single post in North Carolina eventually, but it's starting here, right out of our area, right out of the WHIG TV viewing area, really, and it's going to expand dramatically beyond that. We cannot afford to sit back and pass the responsibility on to someone else to help our veterans and help their family members deal with the crises they're in. So I want to make sure you all know that that's available to you. So why don't we do this real quick? I want to pop up on the screen just a quick picture of the veteranscrisisline.net website. You can see there's a website there, a lot of great information, and also you can see there's a 1-800 number that's a toll-free call anytime you want to talk to somebody. That's available as a national resource, but I'm proud to say we got a strong local resource here, and it's hopefully one day going to be statewide, thanks to the efforts of folks like Sergeant Major here to make statewide this type of community. It really is building community resiliency.
Yes.
To say we don't sit back and let things happen and we're zoned in watching TV in our own lives. This community is stepping up to meet the needs of veterans. And so please pass the word. One of our biggest projects right now is getting the word out about this. It'd be a terrible crisis for a veteran to commit suicide or go through and battle a crisis without knowing that these people are ready. We're ready. So we have thousands of veterans who live in our counties. Thousands.
Yes.
In the 33 counties of eastern North Carolina, there's over 174,000 veterans there. Over 60,000 military personnel, and another almost 70,000 military family members who also struggle and try to support these military personnel while they're serving. So in North Carolina, you know, we're called one of the most military-friendly states, and we want to be just more than a friend of the military. We want to have their back when they come out of the service, while they're in the service, and when they come out of the service, and try to reintegrate back into our communities. So, gentlemen, we're almost out of time, but I want to make sure we have an opportunity for you all to share anything else you want to push out. We're so thankful that you all are part of this team. I'm thankful to all the members of the team. If you're interested in being someone who is willing to be on call, give us a ring, reach out to us. We want to make sure that we have a strong team, and at this point, everybody on the team is a veteran. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way, but it's something we're proud of, that everybody has served. So when you pick up the phone, you're speaking to someone who has served in the military as well. I want to give you guys the last word here, whatever you might want to share.
Well, it's not a matter of getting together and embellishing on where we were and what we did.
Right.
It's just a matter of listening, because 85%, I would say, of this requires you to listen.
Right.
That's right.
And just be able to associate and assimilate from what that individual has to say, because you've been there.
Right.
That's the big deal for us.
And I would add to that, being a combat veteran, you know, I've suffered with post-traumatic injury for a lot of my life. And take it from somebody that knows real well personally, and as a family member, I've done it on that side as well too with my son. So we're going to come at it not as a theoretical type of position, but as something that we're in the trenches, we're going to help out, we're going to listen, we know what's working, we know the avenues of approach to take when it comes to treatment plans, and where to get those treatment plans. Like Josh was saying, we're not mental health professionals, and we don't know everything, but we know where to go get the information, and we'll hand carry it, and we'll make that happen for you. So just by saying that is, remember, it takes the strength of and courage of a warrior to ask for help, And like the Marine Corps' motto is, we're looking for a few good men and women to help us join the fight, and together we can save a lot of lives. And I want to thank the American Red Cross for being an integral part and throwing their weight behind what we're doing. And I can't thank you enough and your team enough, Josh. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure to be part of this team. It's a pleasure to be part of something that's working, and we've experienced this effort already save some lives. So thank you both for being here. Thanks for all that you're doing. And the all reality is we've sort of formalized this a little bit in the last 6 months, but these veterans were out there advocating for many years before then. But they're helping lead the way now, so our communities can know what to do and how to meet the needs of their veteran population that lives there. We thank you for being part of this interview. We got a great program lined up for the rest of our hour. Got some information from the VA News, also from the Pentagon News Channel. I hope you learned a lot today. And if you want to learn more, again, just reach out to us, 252-977-1720. Ask for Josh, and you'll be seeing a lot more about this in the next coming weeks. We thank you for tuning in. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your service to our country and for your service to our community.
Thank you.